Per usual, living on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Wednesday. Let's talk about altcoins. Of course, we will lead off with some Bitcoin TA because in general, if you get Bitcoin right, vaguely right, you will get alts right. Therefore, it is worth having an opinion on Bitcoin here one way or the other. Even if you only trade USD charts, even if you only trade the most degen of meme coins, it is always helpful to have a bullish tailwind at your back on the majors, and that isn't really what we have here. So on the daily cloud for Bitcoin, we're still above. Trend is still bullish. Momentum clearly gone. We're in the doldrums. The wind is out of our sails here. We bounced from 60 to 66. Great, perfect, awesome, amazing. But that's not really where most of the money is going to be made. Most of the money upcoming is either going to be catching the short to 55 or less, probably 52, 54 would be the floor there on the 20-week moving average, or making sure you're positioned appropriately for the next all-time high push. This area is reminiscent, this current area is reminiscent to me of January, February. Slowdown, possible recovery, holding above the cloud. We will get a bearish TK cross on this, which is more evidence to tell you continue to do nothing broadly, because that is a weakening further based on the TK cross of bullishness. And there really just isn't a lot to do here other than collect yield on cash and just wait in coin. There's some stuff that was popping off. We'll take a look. But for most people, chasing that is a really, really bad idea. And broadly, alts just don't really have much in them at the moment, even though, yes, I know a lot of this has retraced higher from the lows. Certainly less straightforward than the past 6 months, right? How people lose money is in this exact situation where they know things are bullish, but they've missed probably the past 6 months, and now they're trying to play catch up, and they think they can be a genius here, and you're trying to squeeze blood from a stone. There's just nothing to do. There's nothing to do. Looking at dominance is still bullish. You can say what you want about the highs. You can say what you want about the retracement here. All this on trend is still very bullish and very much telling you to broadly avoid altcoins. There are some mean reversion type moves that happened, but timing that is extremely difficult because inevitably you are just eating all-time lows or monthly lows, yearly lows for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks before that pop happens. Looking at total 2, which is market cap of all crypto minus BTC, most charts kind of look like this. They had a great run from October until April, and now it's decision time. We're in the neutral zone broadly for everything. Close above cloud with a bullish TK cross. With a bullish cloud, that's always going to be go long signal. Here right now as we sit, this is nothing. This is neutral. This is weight. This could go up. This could go down. This could go sideways. There's no edge here. There's no signal. There is a bit of a divergence, pretty strong divergence from stablecoin issuance, which continues to push all-time highs, at least including Tether and USDC, the two stablecoins that matter, relative to what's happened with price. This is going in the opposite direction. So that's certainly encouraging for an eventual move of bullish continuation, but it's certainly better to wait for the trend signal to tell you it's go time. I just don't think there's much to do here on anything overall. The alt BTC index stripping out stables, total 2 over BTC, is still bearish, has been bearish since late 2022, has not been above a high time frame cloud since early 2022. That's kind of it, right? Post-halving, this stuff starts to do better. And we're not talking immediately after post-halving either. Historically, we're talking months after post-halving, potentially a year after halving, when alts have their late cycle rotation against Bitcoin. And then that's kind of it. This is not a lot of data. It's an N of 1. I get it. But it's something to look at and say, okay, unless there is compelling evidence on trend to be denominated in alts here, why? There's just no reason. More risk with less upside does not make sense to me. Yes, I know H-bar is up 50,000% today. Congrats. You've retraced, the past 2 weeks of losses against BTC, right? There's just no argument for rotating into alts for most people because they will just end up losing money. Looking at the heat map over the past week, again, not much is going on across the board. Bitcoin down, ETH down, a lot of the majors, L1s down. There's some stuff that's up, some junk garbage like Ripple's up. IMX is up quite a bit. Some meme stuff's up quite a bit. And that's why I would just rather look at this against the BTC pair. So this is Coin360. You can filter out the Bitcoin side of this. You can hide it. You can filter by market cap, whatever you want to do, just to give you some idea of what's going on. So there is strength on some of this stuff. Is trend bullish for most of this? No. One exception is probably near, which I'll take a look at. But trend for most of this stuff is not bullish. Some of this stuff is news related, like the HBAR, BlackRock stuff. The Ripple stuff is probably news related with the SEC. But overall, there's really just not much going on. All the more reason illustrating why it's important to correctly get the past 6 months, because that's where the gains happened, right? You don't want to mess up the next signal where there may or may not be a nice little run. It's not about what happens after the signal. It's just about catching the signal and making sure you understand you're on the right side of the trade there. Before we go further into charts here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with the link in the description of this video. Non-investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures Inc., PBI, DBA, Kraken. And on Kraken here, again, I mean, there's not a lot going on over the past week, over the past 2 weeks. Some of this stuff is up quite a bit on any given day. Certain things will do well. You know, Algo's a bag of mine, so great, I'm happy it's up. But in reality, it's retraced the past a week, right? Like, we're not really going anywhere. We're not really doing anything. And look at that rejection wick on those highs. So I wish I could be more excited about anything, but I'm not really seeing evidence for bullish continuation on trend just yet. So as a trend trader, position trader, swing trader, not necessarily as a day trader, this stuff doesn't really excite me just yet. ETH in the cloud, not much else to be said. You know, this is the beauty of the cloud again. Literally at a glance, you will know what's going on here. It's not bullish, it's not bearish. It is neutral. It is as neutral could get in the cloud. The next breakout, bullish. Ideally, the cloud resets completely here. That would take probably a month. May happen. I don't know. But nothing to do until we're back above the cloud with a bullish TK cross. ETH BTC, this is like ancient hieroglyphics at this point, but there's still no reason to be bullish on this chart. Below the 200 week, death cross on the weekly, below the weekly cloud, losing multi-year supports, M double top. You've got a harmonic pointing lower. You've got support pointing lower. You've got potential pivot lower. So, you know, you tell me why I should be bullish on ETH BTC. I don't see it. You could argue we bounced from 0.45 or whatever that was, but there just isn't a compelling reason to hold this over Bitcoin right now. You can talk to me about total return and staking. I guarantee you that even with that included here, this chart is not bullish. So on trend, this is still quite bearish. Solana in the daily cloud, nothing to do, neutral. You can't really see it, but there's a bearish TK cross there. So if this can get above the cloud with a bullish TK cross, great. Ideally, once again, the cloud resets. We get a repeat of October, November, sometime in May, June. You know, that's a great signal. Somebody asked me yesterday, what do I think would be the non-BTC coin to buy and hold for this cycle? I think it has to be Solana, just because ETH had its run. ETH doesn't really have a narrative. ETH has a lot of desperate bag holders. Sol at least has retail casino excitement. You know, I don't like either network, to be clear, but if I had to pick one today, that's what it would be. Sol BTC also neutral. Again, nothing to do in the cloud. This is what you're looking for on everything. Just let all the trend metrics reset on the daily. A much cleaner signal with much higher confidence can be gleaned once we break out of this. But here, there's just nothing, right? Nothing to do. Let's talk about HBAR. It's up a bunch, right? Otherwise, this video is going to be boring, saying, oh, this, that, the other thing. There's not much going on. HBAR for 2 years here has formed what I'd argue is a mixture of complex head and shoulders, W double bottom, Adam Eve, whatever, right? It's in the weekly cloud. It's been in the weekly cloud for a while. Much like uni, any positive headline where resistance is weakened, where trend is trying to reverse, will certainly be taken maybe more bullish than it otherwise would be. So yes, this popped today, congrats. But massive denial. I think I have this on here because it's a 50% retracement, 0.16. This still looks fine. It retested the neckline previously. You know, is it a long-term buy and hold? I would argue, look at the BTC chart. To me, this doesn't exactly scream bullishness. It's been down only for years and years and years, bounced at basically all-time lows, and to me looks like it's going to just continue sideways or bleeding. So I don't see a great argument for that here at the moment. Not to mention with all these coins, emissions are high, inflations are high, unlock schedules are aggressive. All that is much, much different than BTC, which just had a halving, right? Now near BTC is an exception because at the moment, this is closing or potentially will close in the daily cloud. You got, 5 days essentially for this thing to close in the daily cloud. Weekly cloud. Pretty clear horizontal resistance. Pretty clean, deep inverted head and shoulders. So this is what I want to see against BTC. I want to see potential trend reversal. There's obviously an edge-to-edge setup here. Will that actually happen? I don't know. But, near could be this cycle's link. I don't know. It certainly looks very strong against BTC on the weekly chart. This is the USD chart on the weekly. Has been in the cloud for a while. 1090 would be the level. I like that it's retraced. I like that it's up a bunch. Trend overall on the daily looks maybe the best amongst all the alts. Honestly, it's above the daily cloud. It still has a bearish TK cross, but it's gone from neutral to leaning bullish. Over the next week or two, this may form sort of a mega inverted head and shoulders up here, just ranging for another couple weeks through May. But as long as you have a bullish TK cross, right? Bullish TK cross, bullish TK cross. Look at NVIDIA, look at SMCI. Like, it doesn't matter that those went to infinity, okay? All that matters is that you believe in the signal, you trust the signal, you understand the possibilities of the signal, and you know where your stop loss is. So in those cases, the stop loss is always a close inside the cloud, and that's that. So definitely one worth keeping an eye on. With USD, another one that's done decently well over the past week. This is definitely a rising wedge. And the other part about the Bitcoin side is if Bitcoin is sort of chop and slop sideways, I'm not going to trade alts seriously on leverage with size. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait till there's a better signal. So this looks okay. But again, you want full bull signals on the cloud, and you just don't have that yet. Against BTC, again, here's that rising wedge. You're starting to get that, maybe. So I don't know. Like, look, I don't hate it, but as long as BTC randomly keeps giving up, 2,000, not 2,000, but 2% at a time, I don't think any alt is safe. We saw what happened to alts when BTC was down 20% in a week. Alts are not going to randomly do well in that environment. IMX is another one. It's up a bunch this week, but broadly still below the cloud. Trend metrics reset. The next signal is going to be something above 260. And there are a lot of charts potentially setting up for this possibility. Something to watch into May and into June, which would be a head and shoulders, a pretty massive high time frame head and shoulders, where trend is already leaning bullish on the daily. So some of these have, like Bonk, for example, have retraced to their breakout point in November. That's not an expectation, that's not a necessity, but it's certainly a possibility for a lot of these charts if they continue to lean bearish like this. But the cloud is telling you, okay, if we're above the cloud, game on. Otherwise, do nothing, expect bearishness, expect difficulty to regain momentum to the upside. Say BTC, we're just hopping around, a bunch of random charts. This on the heat map, you'd think, oh, this one looks pretty good on the heat map over the past week, but looking at the trend, since the beginning of the year, it's just been down only, So can any of these at any given time mean revert? Absolutely. But the broader trend is still intact, and that is bearishness. So could this double bottom? Could this Adam and Eve? Could this head and shoulders down here? Sure. But that's going to take time. That's going to take you into June, and I just don't think it's worth sitting in something like this waiting when you already know what the trend is at the moment. These are the 6 weekly edge-to-edge setups that are still roughly intact. And we're going to be talking about these for the next 3 to 6 months, I guarantee you. Whether or not you start accumulating, have accumulated, whatever, that's up to you, the trader, obviously. But these are the charts where things tend to happen when things get bullish. I'm not talking today. I'm not talking next month. I'm talking Q4, right? Algo, Flow, Filecoin, Sand, Mana, AXS. These are all metaverse junk, right? This is not some like high intelligence play. This is just looking at what's happened over the past couple of years with the charts and looking at the technicals. Some of these will fail. Some of these will not play out. Most of these are failing against Bitcoin here. All things worth keeping in mind. But I know people like to look for setups like this. That's why I'm continuing to highlight them. They look okay. They don't look horrible, right? But we're not talking anytime super soon. Then there's other stuff, JUP, BTC, okay? Like, look, this is up quite a bit. This had an Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve kind of went nowhere. You've kind of got this massive range. You've got head and shoulders vibes. So most of these charts are just telling you, don't expect much here. Don't expect the past 6 months type of returns over the next couple weeks, because that's just not likely based on technicals. Something related to alts, which would be ARK. The companies selected for ARKK benefit well when alts also benefit. Increased liquidity, loose monetary policy. So as maybe a bellwether for alts, it's worth peeking at the ARK chart every once in a while. And especially this week, there have been a lot of articles saying, you know, Cathie Wood says erase 15 billion from people, or look at all these outflows. I think if Q4 is shaping up how I think it will, ARK may do well in Q4, much like all the altcoins in Q4 this year. And the pessimism is adding up on this thing. There was quite a bit of pessimism a few weeks ago. I wouldn't touch this. I wouldn't invest in this. This is just a sentiment gauge, okay? I think everything in this is mostly junk and should be avoided. But you can see the flows coming into this thing basically at the top. And since then, flows have been fairly negative. So just something else to back up the thesis of what it's going to take to move the altcoin market post-halving in Q4, when maybe liquidity is better and rates come down a little bit. Last week on stream, I mentioned a Memecoin portfolio. I put together a list of brainstorming stuff, and it's nothing new. It's everything I've talked about before. Alts do best post-halving. Rates are still high. Regulation is still a problem for alts. Certainly a headwind. Timing wise, I think is tough post-halving, because some alts do better than others. Sometimes it takes a very long time for alts to do well. Technicals still really aren't there. DXY is still very strong. We're still in QT and not QE. The QT taper isn't even here yet. We still haven't had a potential recession. And then these are some of the other notes for the inclusion criteria. But if you've got some ideas for me, you know, I don't want low cap gems. I don't want coins that have appeared overnight. I don't care about any of that junk. This is probably going to be the list. Almost no one is going to like this list. Okay. But I want 10 to 20 coins. It can be anywhere, Solana, Base. But mainly I need some chart history. I need something that's been here for 6 months, ideally, or longer. And the idea here is, instead of focusing on the timing, I'm going to try to DCA into this over the next 30 weeks, collecting yield on this. Ideally, you are, catching the lows. You are DCAing into this stuff as the headwinds are improving, right? You don't want to wait until rates are down below 4% or whatever, because at that point, we've probably already seen max pain for a lot of these. And something to always keep in mind is, what are your benchmarks? And I hate this question because it's, to me, incredibly stupid, but it's essentially how you'd get paid if you were the portfolio manager here. Are you measuring yourself against USD, BTC, ETH, SOL? Like, it's all just math. So the reason I hate the question is, whatever the benchmark is for you, we can calculate that. But it's certainly worth thinking about, will something like this outperform the potential benchmarks? I would argue it should. I don't know if it will, but I would argue it should. So we'll see. The first step is obviously making the list and then deciding, do you want equal weighted, market cap weighted? What are the fees going to be? Transaction fees, trading fees? Where are you going to trade this stuff? Is it all going to be on a DEX, on Solana? Like, where is it going to be, right? So I'll talk more about that, but if you have any suggestions, let me know. Do a stream on this very channel Thursdays, 2 p.m. EST. you can pop in and give me some backseat advice on which memes I should include in this portfolio. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.